Hi, this is Jerry Koontz at Ramapo Catskill Library System. Today we're going to take a look at a feature of SmarterMail called content filtering. First, let's log in as a user. This is an imaginary user, Derek Jeter. And we can see right now that the list of folders in Derek Jeter's account just includes the defaults: inbox, deleted items, junk email, and sent items. What we want to do first is to help manage the email account by creating some additional folders. And what we will then do after we set up the folders are to create some content filtering rules that will automatically direct incoming email messages into those folders rather than dumping everything into the inbox. So in my right above my list of folders there are some actions, and what I want to select is a new folder. And the first new folder that I'm going to create is going to be called All RCLS. And so I will later on create a rule that will direct all the messages that are addressed to All RCLS and automatically put them in this folder rather than in the inbox. When you create a new folder, by default it assumes you're going to create a subfolder of your inbox, and that actually is not something I recommend. Instead, I would create all your folders under the root folder rather than under the inbox. And the reason for that is if you create all your archived email messages and set them as subfolders of your inbox, then that can make your inbox very slow to open. Not only when you're doing it on a regular PC, but especially through any mobile device. It takes an awful long time for it to try to recreate the inbox when it has those subfolders. So instead, create your new folders under the root folder. And this one I'm going to call All RCLS. And there it is now. I'm going to create another couple of folders too. I'm going to create one that's called Yankees. And let me see, I'm going to create another one called, this one I'm going to call J. Koontz, and that folder will exist for all the messages that are sent to Derek Jeter from jkoontz at rcls.org. Alright, so now we have those folders set up. Now let's go and create some filter rules that will direct mail into those folders. If I go to settings, what I'm looking for is under my settings, there is a category filtering, and content filtering is really the only type of filtering that you can edit, or that we would want you to edit. And right now there are no content filtering rules for D. Jeter's account, so we're going to create a new one. The first rule that we're going to create is going to say that if the subject of the incoming email, then we go to the next step, contains the character string All RCLS, then we go to the next step. Then we're going to move the message into that All RCLS folder. Now every content filter rule that you create should have a name, so we're going to just call this one, we'll give the label All RCLS. And then we save that rule. So now we have one rule. Let's create a new rule. Alright, this rule is going to say that anywhere in the email, any part of the email, any part of the headers, any part of the subject, the body, anywhere, if it contains the character string a rod, then we are going to automatically delete it. Oh, and I forgot to give it a name. We give it the name A-Rod. Now we can save it. And then let me create another new rule that says if a message is from a specific address, and that specific address is jkuntz@rcls.org, then the rule should say to move that message to the folder called jkuntz. And again, I need a name for this rule, so we'll call this rule jkuntz. And then finally, let me create another one that says anywhere in the subject or body of the message if it contains the word cruise, then I'm going to consider it junk mail and automatically move it to my junk email folder. Now, if it's moved to my junk email folder, it exists there, and I could go in and I can check my junk email folder just to make sure it is junk email. But I'm pretty confident that 95% of the time someone sends me a message that contains the word cruise, it's going to be a junk email. And again, we need a name for this rule. So there we go. So now we have 4 rules. Now, if I go back to my email, I'm going to show you that there is another way to populate that content filtering, those content filtering rules. If I'm looking at my email and I get an email and drift my cursor over the from header, one of the options there says to block the sender. So I'm going to click on that. So nothing else appears on the screen immediately that tells me something has been done. But if I go into my settings now and go to the content filtering, I now have a 5th rule that is called internal block senders. And if I click on edit, then I see now that there's a new rule that says from specific addresses, and it has jkuntz@rcls.org. Now, you also see it has this new informative message up top saying this content filter is used internally by SmarterMail. That means it was created by that prompt telling you could block a sender. Okay, and those block senders are automatically deleted. Now, if I go back, it will list the addresses that are being deleted. And if I wanted to remove someone, I could actually go into this rule and take their name out, or I can go back to my email and I can say unblock that sender. That will remove that person's email address from that list of internally blocked senders. So that is a way that the content filtering rules can be used. Now, if you were paying attention, you saw that I created 2 different rules. One that says direct folders into the all RCLS folder if they contain that subject line. And then I created a second one that said if the messages are from jkuntz@rcls.org, to put them in the jkuntz folder. So there could be a message that could meet both of those criteria. So what would the system do in that case? Well, we'll have to test it. Now, first of all, you can see that since I have created those content filtering rules after I had already received these 2 messages, it doesn't do anything with the messages that you have already received before those rules were in place. So those are still in my inbox. But if now I log in as Jay Kuntz and I send a message off to Derek Jeter, and my message is going to also contain the word or the character string all RCLS in the subject. Alright, then we've set up a situation where Derek Jeter's filter rules have to figure out which folder to put it in. So let's see what it did, and then we'll explain why it did it that way. Okay, here are the same two messages that we saw before, but now we see that the all RCLS folder is where it put that new message. So why did it follow the one content filtering rule instead of the other? Well, if we look at these rules, what the system does is it goes down the list in order, and as soon as it hits a rule that it can act upon, then that's the one it follows. So it will follow the first one it satisfies first. So it saw the all RCLS rule there first and followed that rule and directed it to the all RCLS folder rather than the Jay Kuntz folder. So you can set up messages to work in conjunction with one another, meaning that one rule would be processed first and then another rule could be processed. Okay, so that is our look at content filtering. It's a very powerful tool. Sometimes it can get you into trouble. I should mention that if you use it to try to block out offensive things like swear words, that can get you into trouble too, because it is looking at character strings, meaning a string of letters. So if those string of letters appear within other words, those would still be meet the criteria. Also, some people would put in like swear words thinking they never want to see messages because most of those messages are offensive spam. Well, yes, but in some cases you might actually have a correspondent who is sending you a message that contains those words or is quoting someone else. Or one episode we had was people were signed up to get the first chapter of sample chapters of new books, and those first sample chapters contained some of those words. And so they were wondering why those were all being blocked. So just remember, content filtering can help you organize your email, but it can also send messages off into nowhere and you have no idea what happened to them or why. And that's one of the first things that we have to check when you come to us and report that you are not getting messages that you think you should be getting. So be careful. All right, that's it. Enjoy.